Good?
Alright, we're good. Alright, guys, ready? Okay, we're good.
Alright. In
Democracy.
The word rings in the ears of the American people as a constant reminder of the freedom and responsibility we as citizens have. American democracy works best when individuals are actively participating, as Robert Dahl so eloquently wrote.
Democracy is a bit chancy, but its chances also depend on what we do ourselves.
Conceptually, popular sovereignty and representative government, natural rights, and respect for rule of law are essential to maintain a healthy, democratic culture in the United States.
When looking at our political culture, one must focus on the relationship between citizens and the government. As citizens, we elect our leaders and give them the privilege to govern. This is the base for democracy. Governments must be faithful to the fact that its power is derived from the people. When governments usurp power and do not answer the people, democracy is in jeopardy and incumbent upon the public to exercise its power to restore it.
John Locke once said that wherein the safety and preservation of the people consists, the people have a right to remove it by force. Thomas Jefferson etched this sentiment into the bedrock of American democracy when he wrote that it is our right, our duty, to throw off such a government.
American democracy depends on adherence to our personal social contract, the Constitution, and actively working together toward a common good. Whether it is serving on a jury or representing one's electors in Congress, active participation is necessary. Barack Obama said, "Our democracy is threatened when we take it for granted. American democracy requires representative government, but it is our responsibility to hold our elected leaders accountable."
Historically, events have both hindered and furthered our democratic political culture. Voting rights, for example, have evolved over the course of time. The days of the early republic saw voting rights exclusively limited to land-owning males, yet by the presidency of Andrew Jackson, the United States experienced a massive surge in democratic participation by granting suffrage to all white men. After the Civil War, the 15th Amendment extended suffrage to all men regardless of color or previous condition of servitude. By 1920, women were included through the 19th Amendment. Finally, the 26th Amendment allowed all Americans over the age of 18 to vote.
However, despite this dramatic evolution in voter eligibility, actual participation in elections remains low. Americans feel a hindrance in their ability to be part of the national political culture. For example, Jim Crow laws quickly pervaded the South after the passage of the 15th Amendment, systematically disenfranchising Southern blacks from voting. Though these laws have been rendered unconstitutional, cynicism remains, keeping many at home even today.
Much larger in scope, the Electoral College hindered participation even further by discouraging minority parties from campaigning in hyper-partisan states. There is no incentive for candidates to win over citizens other than those in swing states. This, combined with the fact that numerous presidents have won the election despite losing the popular vote, has fostered cynicism and skepticism in the public's faith in our system of government.
The greatest threat to our democratic political culture is the lack of accountability. If the American people feel that government officials are above the rule of law, then the faith in our democratic system is utterly destroyed. There's a trend throughout our history where events unfold that validate our concerns. The Pentagon Papers and the failure to find weapons of mass destruction in Iraq both showed Americans that the country was willing to put soldiers in harm's way, not for the security of its citizens, but for political gain.
Donald Trump's alleged collusion with a hostile foreign power could be the greatest threat to our democracy. It's been said that history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme, and in this case, Russian collusion rhymes with Watergate. Unlike Richard Nixon, Trump has amplified his attacks on investigators and journalists.
This unfolding scandal has exposed a fatal flaw in our democracy, the ability of the president to fire those investigating him. Having already removed former FBI Director James Comey, Trump may replace his Attorney General with someone who will end Special Prosecutor Mueller's investigation. If this happens, American democracy will forever be tarnished.
As Michael Miller stated, the most likely downward path for American democracy is not full breakdown, but a steady erosion of democratic norms and practices.
A possible solution to ensure the survival of democratic principles is civic education. 39 states require civics, Massachusetts does not.
It is the responsibility of our generation to take the torch and illuminate liberty for the future.